Are you an introvert and also a business owner? Hi y'all, thanks so much for joining me. In the next 15 minutes, I will be sharing with you 3 challenges that introverts face when working remotely. Please like and share this video if you get value from it. So I'm Dr. P. I'm a strategic business coach, and before becoming a business coach, I work as a school psychologist in K-12 schools in the U.S. in 4 different states, served on professional organization committees, I still do for some, and taught more than 10 online psychology courses at the master's level, and I'm currently still teaching at the master's level. So being an introvert and being a business owner, I remember hearing some people say, you can't be a successful business owner if you're an introvert, because people have their different perceptions about what an introvert is, and oftentimes it is misperceptions, because even working in the schools, working in large school districts, medium, small, public school, charter school, there was always an introvert in the midst, right? There was always an introvert who was a part of the team. And some people think introverts don't want to interact with anybody. Some even think that they don't perform the same way as extroverts. And to be honest, with the background I have in psychology, I can safely say this: it isn't just being an introvert. There are a lot of other factors that go into people's performance, right? Being introverted is something that a lot of people notice very quickly, because introverts tend to not want to socialize with so many people at the same time. It kind of like, how you could put it, kind of like schedule your interactions with others is how you do it, and you have interactions with people in doses, so to speak. But that doesn't mean you're not going to be a productive employee. And for some people, it also meant that they didn't want to become a business owner, because they figured being an introvert, they weren't going to be successful at being a business owner. And it takes a whole lot of skills, a lot of different things to determine your success as a business owner. So to say straight off the bat, if you're introverted, you're going to fail, that's not a fair statement to make. Give yourself credit, acknowledge your strengths, and work on them. So being in this remote environment, there are a lot of people that think introverts are thriving because, oh my gosh, they don't want to be around everybody, so they must be doing great. But the thing is, being an introvert and working remotely, it still has its challenges. And being a business owner, this is something that if you're an introvert, you might be facing right now and might not even be realizing that you're facing it right now. And a big thing about working remotely with these challenges is that it can impact your productivity as a business owner, and it can also impact the productivity of your team if you have team members who are introverts. So yeah, many of us are building businesses from home, running them from home, and there were a lot of changes that happened in 2020 that forced a lot of us to be running our businesses from our home offices. Maybe you had an office before, and now you are forced to be working from home. Everybody's situation is different. So I really want to share 3 challenges that introverts are facing working remotely. Because as a small business owner today, you might have that vision or that strategic goals for growing bigger than where you are right now. And right now, working remotely, you might not be seeing that vision, because it's just these challenges that you are encountering and got you wondering, oh my gosh, is this really something I want to keep going with? So that's why I want to share 3 challenges with you. And then to help you figure out how you can support not just yourself, but also your employees that you might have who also might be introvert. Not all your employees are introverts, but for those who are introvert. And like I mentioned, some people might think introverts are thriving. Some of them could be thriving, but some of them could be dealing with things that you're not even aware of. And to be fair, you probably wouldn't have been aware of them if they were face-to-face with you. It's just some of the things that we do, we kind of hide a lot of things and keep it private. So Vault and Fast Company has an article on some challenges that introverts face, right, in a remote workplace. And I want to share that combined information with you. And when you get a chance, you can check them out for yourself, because there are true challenges that introverts face, and it hits you as a business owner who is an introvert. And like I mentioned, it also hits your team members. Hi y'all, thanks so much for joining. As you join, you can say hi and where you're joining from. Talking today about being an introvert and being a business owner, right? And the challenges that you might be facing if you're working remotely. So before I mention those challenges, I want to share a big part of it is that knowing the challenges is one part. You also need to know how to support yourself. So as I go through the challenges, I'll share some ways in which you can look at supporting yourself and also your team members. So the first thing that is a challenge for an introvert is finding a quiet space in your home. That is one of the biggest challenges when you go from working in an office to working from home. And not all of us have the same home setup. That's the truth. Some of us might live alone. Some of us might live with others, whether those others are roommates, significant others, pets, animals. The point is you're now sharing your space with others. And talk about those lovely open concept homes that we went for, whether it's the houses, the apartments, the condos. Open concept, fabulous, right? You thought this was a great idea. Now we're all working from home and you're looking to homeschool and you have pets and you might be taking care of, some family members. Now everybody's in that same space and now you're trying very hard to find a quiet space where you can actually sit and focus and do your work. And it becomes challenging because I have a dog and let me tell you, when I first came home, he thought that me being home meant, hey, it's going to be playtime all the time because now I'm kind of invited in his space. So a big part of it was we had to figure out how to navigate each other's spaces. Not to mention everybody was sharing, home with. So you do have to learn how to navigate and how you can get that safe space so you can focus because that's a big part of it. As an introvert, you're so used to having your quiet space where you could sit, you could plan, and you could take your actions and work on what you need to work on. But when you're now home in an open concept home, it is harder to find that quiet space where you can actually sit and do what you need to do. It's almost like torture, right? Because you don't have that quiet space to be that productive employee that you can be. So that's the first challenge, finding that quiet space. A second challenge is isolation may not be a good thing. Because being introverted doesn't mean you don't like to socialize. It means you like to socialize, but, to a point. Kind of like controlled socialization like I mentioned earlier. You can interact with people, but you're not going to just sit down and aimlessly hang out with people for 8 or 9 or 10 hours straight. You can take it in doses because introverts love to socialize, As an introvert, yes, I love my alone time, but I also like to socialize. And we love that planned alone time. So now, when you're working from home, and if you're not used to working from home, you have this isolation. And it's constant isolation. And it actually can take a toll on your mental health as well. Because you don't get those small doses of socialization that you became used to when you were working in a brick and mortar type environment. Now you're home and you're always by yourself constantly, right? So you don't get that opportunity just to reach out and be able to socialize with others. And yes, I get it. There are a lot of businesses out there that like to do like the virtual meet. And if you're in networking groups as a business owner, you should be in networking groups. If you're in networking groups and you used to meet face to face, now you are meeting in a virtual environment. One of the things people love to do is that virtual meet and greet, right? And as an introvert, that is not the most enjoyable thing. It can be so draining to be on those virtual sessions with all of those people. And you don't have the opportunity to even read like nonverbal cues, and it's harder to pick up on what's happening and to even reach out and socialize with somebody else, right? It's a little bit more difficult to do that. So using technology such as AirMeet can also be beneficial for when you have introverts on your team, or even if you are an organization where you guys are a networking organization. AirMeet is a really good one that you can use because it allows people to just interact with one-on-one, for a short space of time, and then it switches and it can take you to interact with somebody else. And if you're really good at setting up your Zoom, you can do the same thing. You can, instead of having those big open sessions, which can be overwhelming for your introverts on your team, or even members of your networking session, you can do it where you have smaller breakout sessions. And it could be that it's 1 or 2 people in there or 3 people in there, and they're in there for a certain amount of time, and then it stops, and then it switches over. And that is better for the introverts on your team, and also for you as an introverted business owner, right? So you get your socialization in doses. So you can still socialize, and it's not as overwhelming as staring at 30 pages, because, I mean, come on. When you got 30 pages on a screen and you got to scroll through and go through 3 or 4 or 5 pages, that becomes really overwhelming, right? So you want to find ways where you can navigate that. And communication preference is another thing that introverts struggle with when working remotely, right? So when you're working remotely, video calls can be draining for the introvert. If you are a business owner and you're introverted, you know what I'm talking about. When you are on those huge networking calls and it's so many of you, yes, you used to meet face to face, but now with everybody on your screen, it can become so draining, more draining than even interacting with people in person. And doing spontaneous calls to a team member who's introverted is not the best thing for them. You know, you need to plan it, give them some structure, and having that agenda ready is a nice one as well, because you want to make sure you have that agenda ready so that they are aware of what they're walking into, and it gives that, you know, some sense of safety and security of knowing what to expect when they're in those sessions. And a big thing is that you have to really get to know the individual. If you really knew this person before you all went online, then you do know this team member who's introverted. And you got to know yourself too, because if you were in denial before all of going online happened in 2020 and you weren't quite sure that you were an introvert, maybe it's time for you to take a step back and look at what has been happening to you over the past 12 months or 14 months and really take some time to be like, hey, am I introverted, and what does that mean, and how has my productivity been impacted? Because remember, being introverted, finding that quiet space. Oh, and I forgot to mention, talk about homeschooling. If you have a child and you're working from home, you have the pet, and you got to be homeschooling as well, that's a lot that's going on in your environment, versus before working from home, you went to brick and mortar. So another thing that you can also do to help yourself as a business owner and even your team members is you can look at flexible workspace. Maybe there's an option where you can go and do flexible workspace for just a few hours each week, or you can open that up to your team members so that they can have a few hours out of the home each week. I'm not talking about leasing a whole building or a whole space, but there are those flexible options out there that you can look at using so that you can provide those supports for yourself. You're the business owner who's introverted, as well as your team members who are introverts. Okay? So there are ways that you can support yourself and your team members, and being introverted does not automatically mean you're going to fail. That's not what it means at all. It just means you have to become aware of where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, those things that are challenges, and there are definitely solutions out there to help you. Because remember, y'all, I always say solutions plus actions equals results. So I'm Dr. Priscilla Kusser with Priscilla Kusser Consulting Solutions. Thank you so very much for joining. I see designs by Igesi. He also joined there on Instagram. So thank you so very much. And until next time, y'all, solutions plus actions equals results. Bye.